Chapter 3. Old Roots. It was late afternoon, and Malfoy Manor sat in the weak light like something preserved rather than inhabited. The house was elegant, but cold, more museum than home. Every corridor seemed to hold its breath. The place had history, and history never left quietly. Narcissa Malfoy stood in one of the lower rooms while Pansy Parkinson adjusted the fit of a gown for her. Pansy had made the house call as a favor, though she still looked faintly irritated by the entire arrangement. She had once worked at Madame Malkin's robes for all occasions in Diagon Alley, and she carried herself with the same careful confidence she had always had at school. "I've toned the green down," she said, smoothing the fabric with a practiced hand. "Thought we might try something a little less Slytherin this time." Narcissa gave a cool, elegant smile. "Some things don't change, Miss Parkinson." Pansy opened her mouth to reply, but something moved on the floor behind them. A vine had begun to creep across the stone, slender at first, almost harmless looking in the dim room. Pansy noticed it before Narcissa did. "Do you keep exotic plants indoors now?" she asked. The vine suddenly lashed upward and wrapped itself around Pansy's leg. She gave a sharp cry as it tightened. Narcissa froze, but she did not panic. She had seen enough in her life to know when fear was useful and when it was not. Her face remained composed, though her eyes had gone hard. The next day, Harry and Ron sat at their desks in the Aurors office when Kingsley Shacklebolt arrived with Arthur Weasley and Gawain Robards. The office quieted at once. Something in the minister's expression made it clear this was not a routine announcement. "Just a quick announcement," Kingsley said. "We are making a change in leadership, starting immediately. Gawain Robards will be taking over head of magical law enforcement duties from Arthur Weasley, who only agreed to fill the post at my request during the changeover. I could not have done any of my duties as minister knowing the Aurors office was so corrupted. Arthur, I can't thank you enough. We all owe you so much. So, is it back to the misuse of Muggle artifacts?" The room broke into applause. Harry glanced around the office, and for a moment he was reminded of the way Ron had once been cheered in the Gryffindor common room, as though the whole school had decided he was a kind of king for the night. Arthur lifted a hand, smiling in embarrassment. "No, thank you. No, not the misuse office. I'm going to Molly. I'm retiring from ministry work. We're going to travel." The room applauded again, warmly this time. "Thank you, Arthur," Kingsley said. "And now, let's welcome Mr. Robards and wish him luck." The Aurors crowded around Arthur and Gawain to congratulate them, and then the office settled back into its usual rhythm. Gawain made his way to Harry's desk, file in hand. "I wouldn't have given this to you, except Arthur says he thinks it's connected." Harry opened the file and saw the name at the top. "Narcissa Malfoy," he said. Ron gave a short laugh. "Malfoy Manor. Brilliant. Can't wait." Harry closed the file. "Let's try not to start a war this time." By the time they reached the manor, the light had begun to fade. Malfoy Manor rose ahead of them, severe and silent, the grounds neat enough to be unnerving. Narcissa met them at the front gate. She was composed as ever, but Harry could see the strain beneath it. Inside, they were shown into a long room where Pansy sat being tended to by a house elf. She had pulled her leg free, but she still looked angry about the entire affair. "This was not a random occurrence," Narcissa said. "Something in this house is wrong." Pansy gave the house elf a small, irritated look as it fussed over her. "If this is the ministry's idea of post-war security, Potter, I'm underwhelmed. They were just regular vines, not Devil's Snare. It went after me." Harry looked around the room. It was tidy, almost too tidy, and yet there was something uneasy in the way the shadows gathered in the corners. Draco arrived a short while later from Borgin and Burke's, carrying a stack of books under one arm. Whatever he had expected to find at home, it clearly was not Harry Potter and Ron Weasley waiting for him in his own house. "Aurors in my home," he said flatly. "That's new." "Try not to summon anything while we're here," Ron replied. Draco ignored him, though his jaw tightened. He looked unsettled despite himself. Harry noticed that vines were beginning to creep along the stone walls. Roots had pushed up through gaps in the floor. Even the room seemed to be shifting under the weight of something old and buried. A bell rang in the hall. Narcissa turned slightly. Who could that be? "Oh, that'll be Neville Longbottom," Ron said. "Sorry, I called him. He's been helping with the investigation." Neville arrived moments later, and Harry saw at once that he was uneasy. He had not even fully crossed the threshold before he stopped. "It's stronger here," he said quietly. Draco gave him a searching look. Then, after a brief silence, he spoke. "This house has history," he said. "And not good history. Voldemort lived here for months before the Battle of Hogwarts. Nagini lived here too. Things happened here." No one said anything. Harry could feel the weight of the house pressing in around them. Neville stared at the floor for a moment, and Harry could tell what he was thinking without needing to ask. Nagini. Neville had killed the snake. He would never forget that. Draco went on, his voice colder now. "Someone is doing this. Some sort of curse on the house. I can only suspect." He paused. "Corbin Yaxley. The ex-Auror?" Ron said. Draco gave a tight, bitter smile. "An interloper, if you want to be polite about it." "He swore revenge on my family after the war," Draco said. "Said we were traitors. He must be near. He should just show himself." The words had barely left his mouth when the manor answered. Vines burst from the walls, roots snaked across the floor. The lights flickered and went out one by one, leaving the room in a dim, shifting darkness. A shape began to form in the tangled growth, long, coiled, and serpent-like. Ron and Harry both moved instinctively, but this time they held back and looked to Neville instead. Neville stepped forward. The vines recoiled from him. Not violently, but with caution, almost like an animal recognizing something it feared or remembered. Neville raised his hand slightly and spoke in a low, steady voice, coaxing rather than fighting. Slowly, the massive growth settled down, and the shape dissolved. Draco stared, open-mouthed. "Why does it react to you, Neville?" Harry asked. Neville did not answer. Harry turned toward Narcissa and Draco. "You may be right about someone cursing this place. We've had the same sort of thing at Hogwarts, and in St. Catchpole. Yaxley is one of the few people who's managed to stay hidden." He stepped into the hall and contacted Gawain with his comm coin. When he came back, his expression was hard. Gawain agreed that the situation fit with their other cases. Another team had been searching for Yaxley already, but they had found nothing useful. No location. No clear trail. "Clean the house," Gawain said. "If this is residual dark magic Yaxley stirred up and tied to the manor, don't chase it. Purge it." Harry looked to Ron and Neville, then back toward the room. "You heard him. Let's go." But Neville did not move right away. "What is it?" Ron asked. Neville kept his eyes on the dark corner where the vines had first appeared. "It doesn't feel like residue," he said. "It's not just a curse or a spell." Harry frowned. "Then what is it?" Neville hesitated, then answered in a quiet voice. "It's got a conscience. It's connected to a person." Harry's reply came without hesitation. "We've got orders. We stop it before it makes another decision to hurt someone." They returned to the manor and told the Malfoys what the Ministry had decided. Narcissa lifted an eyebrow. "That seems a little aggressive." Draco's expression hardened. "Do it, Potter. Clean it out." The three Aurors began the purge. Magic filled the room with a force Harry could feel in his bones. The vines and branches broke apart, dissolving into dust that scattered across the stone floor and vanished. But beneath the destruction, there was something else. A pulse. A gathering point, as though the magic had been hiding a heart all along. The energy collapsed inward until it became a single pinpoint of light. Harry, Ron, and Neville kept their wands trained on it until it shrank, flashed, and vanished with a soft pop of smoke and sparks. Ron lowered his wand first. "Well," he said, looking around at the ruined remains of the vines, "that looked very much like job done." Neville, however, was still uneasy. He could feel something lingering, not gone, only frightened. Then, just as suddenly, he felt it pull away. It fled. The pressure in the room eased, and Neville let out a slow breath. Harry looked at him. "It is." Pansy, who had been watching the room with narrow eyes, moved toward the door. Before she left, she glanced back at the manor. "You should burn this place to the ground," she said quietly to Draco. Draco looked at the house for a long moment before answering. "I've thought about it.